we have a new mimer. The B'siyata D'Shmaya Shabbos Parshas Ekev Mevarch Machodesh El Tavshin Yural. So the beginning of our parsha starts V'hoya Ekev Tishmun. It will be when you will listen as a mishpatim ha'ela to these mishpatim, u'shmartem, you shall observe them, v'asisam oisam, you'll do them. And then once a yid does so, then Hashem will guard the bris, the promise, the covenant, and the kindness that He swore to your forefathers. And He will bench the fruits of your stomach. We need to understand the content and the meaning of the three ideas that he says over here. There's a bris, there's a chesed, and there's a shvur. According to the simple meaning, because in this pasuk, the pasuk is talking about a condition over here. If you listen to the mishpatim, then Hashem promises you in return, Vishamar, He will observe the covenant, the kindness, and that He swore to the forefathers. What He promised to us, He's going to do because we are doing what we're supposed to do. So we need to understand. How can you say that there's a quid pro quo? How can you say that when we do what we're supposed to do, then there's going to be Vishamar Sabris Vasaches? These matters are independent of any condition. The idea of a bris is it's like two friends that make a covenant between them. Even if there's something that's separating between them and cuts off the love. For example, if one of the parties to a bris, to a covenant, doesn't act appropriate according to the covenant, according to the treaty, according to the promise, still in all, it will not detract from their love whatsoever. That's the entire idea of a bris. A bris is a pact, it's a contract. It's something that joins two people together, despite any reasons for them to have separated between themselves. That's why they pass through two halves of an animal, just like the two halves are really part of one. The same thing, they are all joined as one, regardless of what they do. When Nimsa comes out, the idea of a bris is independent of any type of condition whatsoever. And in our pasuk, he places a condition on it. He says, when you will do such and such, then he will observe the bris. It's not just bris, but another expression in the pasuk that also seems to defy the idea of conditions. So to the idea of an oath that Hashem swore to our forefathers is also something that's not a matter of a condition. It's not dependent upon conditions being fulfilled. The Chazal speak about an idea that if a person has, let's say, challenges in fulfilling a mitzvah, so a person, even though normally we do not make oaths for no reason and so on, but a person can take an oath and say, I swear I will do this and this mitzvah. So what is the purpose of that oath? Why is he taking that oath to fulfill the mitzvah? Even if there's obstacles and blockages and things that are standing in his way, challenges for the fulfillment of mitzvahs, for this, the person takes an oath that he should not become affected by anything, and he should still not fulfill the mitzvah. So just like it's by a human oath that swearing that I'm going to do something is about overcoming all obstacles and anything that might stand in its way, the same thing, similar to this, it's in the oath of above, it's in the oath that Hashem makes, that the Eibishter swore, that you took an oath to our forefathers from days of old. What's the purpose? What's the meaning when we say that Hashem took an oath to the forefathers? He swore an oath to the others. Regardless of the state and situation of the Yidden, Hashem forces himself to fulfill his shvuah, regardless if the Yidden may or may not be deserving chas v'shalom. So shvuah, we have the same question about shvuah like we had about a bris. How does the Torah connect the Yidden doing what they're supposed to do with the Eibush fulfilling his oath? The whole idea of an oath is regardless of what difficulties might come the way. The idea of kindness is independent of any condition. Why is kindness? Again, another expression over there. It's a bris, a shvuah, it's a chesed. Why is kindness independent of any condition? The idea of chesed is to give to all, not only to someone that's deserving, and top of page above, also to someone that's undeserving and unworthy. That's the idea of kindness. Kindness is to give him as well. Even more so. Like it's known the difference between the midas of kindness, severity, and compassion, mercy. The idea of severity and stringency is that Hashem, or the person that is using gvura, is very exact on all, even for those that are worthy. Like our Chassidus bring down that it says in the pasuk, Gam b'malochav yasim ta'ala, that even in his malachim, the Eibishter will place his rebuke, meaning that there is even the malachim above. They don't have a Yetzer Hara. What could they already be doing wrong? Mitzad midas hagvura, from the approach of the mid of gvura, the Eibishter is very exact even with that. So that's one extreme. Gvura is to be exact even with those that are really worthy of receiving good. And the idea of mercy and compassion is though the person is unworthy, is still in all the one who is exerting rachamim. He is still in all having compassion upon him, and he still gives that person that may be unworthy. Despite the fact that rachamim is about giving to someone that's unworthy as well, he has compassion and mercy on him. Still in all, still in all, it's recognizable the difference between someone that's worthy and someone that's unworthy. That's why it's an idea of mercy. Mercy means I recognize that you are undeserving, you haven't earned it, this is not yours, and I am going to be expressing my mercy, my compassion, my rachmanis to give this to you. That's why rachman is considered a mix of chesed and gvura. From gvura's perspective, you realize that he's unworthy. From the chesed perspective, I am giving. But the rachman is still, I'm giving despite the fact of the person's unworthiness. So still in rachman, there is a certain aspect of din, there's still a certain aspect of realizing and seeing that the person may be unworthy. But chesed is completely the other extreme. Line 7 on page Vav, the idea of chesed is he gives to all. He's not exact and he doesn't examine between one who is worthy, one who's not worthy. All of them get equally. No differentiation, no differentiations whatsoever, no divisions, nothing. That's the idea of chesed. So again, if you have the idea of chesed, that I remember the bris, the shvuah, and the chesed, since chesed is to all, so how does it say and make it dependent upon doing the mishpatim and so on, that then I will give you the bris, the shvuah, the chesed? So that's what he's saying. Line 9, since these matters are independent of any condition, why does the pasuk say, if you will listen and when you will listen to the mishpatim, then I will do the bris, the shvuah, the chesed. Bris, shvuah, and chesed are independent of any type of conditions and any type of fulfillment by one party that would obligate the other party. Gam Tzarech Lahavin, another question that Rebbe asks on line 12, Diuk Haloshin V'hoya Ekev Tishma. Then that the exact expression that it says Ekev Tishma. Since this is an idea of a condition, it would have been more appropriate the expression im, which means if, like it should have said, and it will be if you will listen. Similar to the pasuk where it says, if you will listen, like we say in Krishma. Akev sounds more like since you will listen. Since you will listen is we're accepting that it's a given that he will do it. Here we're talking about a condition. You want to tell us, if you will listen, then we will get rewarded. So a more exact, a more appropriate expression would be im, not it will be since you will listen, Akev Tishmon, that doesn't fit it. Another question that Rebbe asked, or the Rebbe explains actually, that because of this problem, this is the reason why Rashi has to introduce something that doesn't fit into Shuti Shel Mikra. Line 16, Rashi Pirush, Rashi explained on the words V'hoya Ekev Tishma. Based on what it says in the Medrash Tanchuma, the Koy al mitzvahs she'adam dosh ba'akeva, that it's referring to mitzvahs that a person tramples and steps on with their heels. That's why it uses the word Ekev instead of the normal word that would have been able to be used as im, and the word that would have made more sense would have been im. Instead, he uses the word Ekev because it's trying to tell you this idea about the mitzvahs that a person tramples with their heels. So then the Rebbe says something else. According to this, it's not understood what it says. What's the idea of these mishpatim? Specifically, mishpatim daf. It's specifically the pasuk is referring to things that are called mishpatim, civil laws. As it's known, there are three categories. Eight is chokim mishpatim, the testimonial mitzvahs, the decrees, and those that are civil laws. Mishpatim Mishpatim are those laws that logic dictates that a person should do them. Testimonial mitzvahs are such that have room and place intellectually and rationally. It makes sense to do them, meaning in mitzvahs that fall into the category of eight, that a person may not come up with them on their own. Still in all, once Hashem gave us those mitzvahs, it makes sense logically and rationally to fulfill it. For example, the mitzvahs that are done as a commemoration for going out of Mitzrayim, a person may not have come up with a mitzvah that is meant to commemorate going out of Mitzrayim. But once Hashem told us to make the Pesach and to observe Shabbos because we went out of Mitzrayim and so on, so it's understood and makes sense. Yes, it's logical to do a mitzvah to commemorate and celebration and marking the fact that we went out of Mitzrayim. That's Eidos. So Eidos and Mishpatim are generally mitzvahs that fall into the category of things that are logical. The chukim and mitzvahs that are called chukim, decrees, these are mitzvahs, top of page Zayin, that the nations of the world tease or annoy the Jewish people with. Loimar, to say, Ma mitzvah zois, why do you do this mitzvah? What logic, what reason is there to do these mitzvahs? They have no room intellectually and rationally to fulfill them. But rather, I have made a decree, and that's what you have to fulfill because of the decree of the Eibush. So now getting back to our pasuk, we are talking about V'hoya Ekev Tishma. You're talking about mitzvahs that a person tramples with their feet. And what type of mitzvahs are you referring to, Mishpat? Okay, if so, Kasher HaKosav Maskiroi, this mitzvah Shodom Dosh Ba'Keva of the pasuk is mentioning those mitzvahs that a person tramples with their feet. That's why Rashi says we use the word Ekev, not the word Im, for example, Meaning these are mitzvahs that we're not that careful with, we're not that exact with. So at least he should have spoken about mitzvahs that are decrees, mitzvahs that don't make any sense, or at least those mitzvahs that we wouldn't have come up with on our own, testimonial mitzvahs. The Lama Nakat Mishpatim Dafka, why specifically does he refer to logical, rational, civil laws that it's the least likely that a person would trample and disregard mitzvahs that are logical? Those are the first line of a mitzvah that a person would commit to and would do because he would do it on his own. Any questions before we go on? Okay, on page 9, base, line 7. Having calls that to be able to understand all of this, you first have to preface the explanation of what the Zohar says. Plus Kishrin or Ksharit, Miskashrin, Dabada. There are 3 bonds that are or knots that are tied up one with another. Israel Be'araisa, Yidden are knotted and bound up with the Torah. Be'araisa B'kucha when the Torah is knotted up and bound with the Eibishter. Chulhu Dargin al Dargin Sosim V'Galia. And all of them, not just one bond, but there are levels upon levels, the concealed levels and the revealed level. So as the Rebbe is going to explain what that means, the different levels, this means to say, it's not just that this connection, this bond, is in the concealed level of the Yid. These are the elevated and higher most soul powers. Should be is also the revealed powers of the Yid. That's the revealed powers of the Yid become bound up with the Torah. Now, the Rebbe goes even further. The revealed powers, we could be talking about the revealed powers of the Nefesh Elokis. So the Rebbe says, no, I'm not just referring to the Nefesh Elokis. It's not just concerning the godly soul. Rather, through the Torah, the revealed powers of the Nefesh HaBahamis become bound up with the Torah, and they're also bound up with the Eibishter as well. So the Rebbe explains, first of all, the Rebbe is going to go in at length to explain the idea of being bound up. There is the idea of iskashrus versus dveikus. Dveikus means it's like one thing that's joined together. The English translation is cleaving, but I don't know if that helps anybody. Iskashrus means you tying 2 things. You have 2 ropes and you're tying them together. You have the canvas sukkah, you're tying it to the metal poles, whatever. You tie 2 different things. That's the idea of iskashrus. The idea behind this line 17, the expression hiskashrus, miskashrin, shayich ra, b'shnei dvarim shenifradim is applicable only with 2 items that are separated one from another. I lost my place. As opposed to in one item, you're not going to say that my head is mekusher to my body. You don't use the word hiskashrus, but rather an expression of dveikus. For example, light and the luminary where it comes from. The light is not something distinct from the luminary. It's rather just a revelation of the essence of the luminary. Therefore, the term hiskashrus doesn't apply to rather, what's applicable over there is the term dveikus. That he's davuk dveikus by etzem, he's cleaving in the etzem. So now the Rebbe is going to apply this concerning where it says tlas ksharim miskashron, that there's 3 bonds and the 3 knots that become connected with the Eibishter. What is this bond? What is this connection that we're talking about over here? Why is there this need for connection, obviously we're talking about a level that's lower than Dveikus, because Dveikus, you don't need to tie them together. They're one. Let's see it inside. It says, line 24. The way it's above is in a way that's Davik in godliness. Like the expression in Tanya, it says, and this is the exact Lashon used. Even a complete tzaddik that serves Hashem with awe and a great love. Betanugim, an ava betanugim, a love of delight. Lo yagila lemailus beikusi b'Hashem betchila v'rechimum b'termidas olam has. He will not reach the level of how he's cleaving to the Eibishter with his awe and love before he descended to this world. So we see that the neshama before it descended to this world is called, its level, its connection with the Eibishter is called Dveikus. What happens when the neshama comes down here? Only when the neshama descends down here below, and then it becomes an entity for itself. So then we can use the term a bond. When the neshama is in the state of being pure, then it's a level of David, the level that we say every single morning in davening. The neshama you placed in me is pure. So when the neshama is in that state where it's still Tahoidahi, over there it's still Dveikus. But when it goes and transitions and becomes a level that you created her and you formed her and you blew it into me and you guarded within me, then by going through that and descending in those levels, then it becomes an existence for itself. Then its bond with godliness is in a way of being tied up like two separate things. For this it says that there are three bonds and three connections that are connected one with the other. That the neshama, the way it's down here, is bonded and tied with the Torah and tied with Hashem. Why do we use the word tying, not davik? Because since it came down here, it's already a Metziah, so therefore we use the word tie. Now the Rebbe in the next paragraph is going to explain, if so, it seems to be that we lose out by it. The Rebbe is going to explain that despite the fact that it seems to be that we lose out through this type of descent and through this type of only his kashrus and not vekas, still in all, it's really high. Let's see line 12 on page Ches, second paragraph.
That's a quick question.
Okay.
The Vegas is like automatic and the tying requires effort.
Yes, I guess you could put it that way. The main thing is the Vekas is the natural union of things that are not really separated, like the light and the sun, as opposed to bonding means they're really two separate things. Now you got to bring them together. So obviously one would need some type of effort and the other would.
So in this case, you have to actually sit and learn Torah. I mean, it's not going to just come to you.
Right. That's part of it, because I'm not one with Torah, like for example, perhaps in Gan Eden. Even though also there we're learning Torah, but it's not the bond that we need to create and so on. It goes on to say on line 12, page Ches, still in all Yeshmaili, you say to be nice kachas lamatom, still in all, there's a greater advantage in the bond and the tying that takes place down here below over the dvekis that the neshama has above. Only through the tying up, through this kashrus down here below, do we come to a higher level than the dvekis that the neshama has above. How is that? Why is that? By Inyan, who the idea behind this is the Niksiv, it says in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Shchoira Ani, I am black, Benava, and beautiful, So Benois Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim. So in the simple reading of the pasuk, it's talking about the same thing. The Benois Yerushalayim is Choyda v'Nava. So the Maimon is going to divide it and say no. There's one level of the neshama that's called Benois Yerushalayim, and then there's one level of the neshama that's called Choyda, that's black, and then there is that level, that's Choyda, that's level that's dark, that is the Nava, that's the beautiful level, not the level of Benois Yerushalayim. Let's see it inside. Benois Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim, Koyal and Neshama Shalom Maila, it's referring to the Neshama above. They are called daughters of Yerushalayim, meaning that they receive from Yerushalayim. They incorporate within them the Yerushalayim. What does Yerushalayim show? Because they are in a state of being perfect awe and perfect fear of Hashem. In Yerushalayim, that is the idea of Yerushalayim. Al Shem Yira Shalom. The word Yerushalayim is named because it says Yira and Shalom. Actually, Maimon Chazal, it says that Avraham Avinu called Har Maria Yira, and the Malki Tzedek called it also Shalom, Malki Tzedek Melech Shalom. So the Eibishter said, let it be both together. That we'll call it Yerushalayim. That's a combination of Yira Shalom. That it's the awe of Hashem is in a perfect state. So Benois Yerushalayim is the neshamas above, that their awe of Hashem is the most perfect state. Line 20, like it's mentioned previously from where it's written in Tanya, also complete tzaddik that serves Hashem with awe and a great love of the light. He will not reach the stage of his cleaving to the Eibishter with awe and love before his descent to this world. So as great as the tzaddik's avoid is down here, it's incomparable to the level of the tzaddik above. Only when the neshama is above, that's when it's a perfect yira. And therefore they are called the daughters of Yerushalayim. So that is the level of Benois Yerushalayim. The level of Benois Yerushalayim is referring to the neshamas the way they are in Gan Eden in general. Then the Rebbe goes on further that really there's a higher level that we could apply the level of Benois Yerushalayim, not just the neshamas the way it's above in general, not just the neshamas the way they are in Gan Eden in general. The Pratius Yoiser Koi Benois Yerushalayim al neshamas. Even more specifically, the level of Benois Yerushalayim refers to the neshamas the way they are part of Malchus Datzilus. Malchus Datzilus is the level of Yira Tata at least, but it's still a level of Yira. We know that that's the level of awe. It's the level of Melech. Melech is the level of awe and bittul. So the level of Malchus, that is the source of all the neshamas Yisrael, and that is the Benois Yerushalayim, the neshamas the way they are in Malchus Datzil. We'll stop over here, and we'll continue much from tomorrow a little bit more about why they're called Benois Yerushalayim even more so. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us now.